Welcome, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Slay Vibez Only Podcast. I'm your girl, Jess, and I'm so glad that you are tuned in today. Ooh, y'all. Let me just say, I'm 110% grateful to be here, to still be available to do this podcast, and just to be in a space where this is something that I can continue to do and be consistent in. That is something that I have 110% been praying about, and I know that that is like my word for 2025 is consistency. And it's not just for me and my own like discipline, but it's to make sure that I'm continuing to grow in this space like step by step, and I'm just so grateful to be here. But y'all, it has been a busy few weeks. I know y'all might have noticed that there was no episode last week, and trust me, that was not because I didn't try. I definitely tried to make it work, make it happen, but it's just been a busy couple of months, honestly. But it's been all for a good cause. My beautiful cousin got married last week to her now husband. So we were celebrating and getting that together, getting all the things arranged for that. And it was honestly such a beautiful wedding to be a part of, and just a milestone to be able to witness. I am in a space where I'm seeing a lot of my like friends and family just kind of coming into these new stages in their life, and it's so great to be just, it's a blessing to be a witness in these moments. And I can't say grateful enough, but honestly, I'm so grateful to be able to be a part of this. And it was, like I said, such a beautiful wedding and such a celebration of love and light and laughter and joy. And I love my cousin to death. I'm so lucky and just blessed that we have been able to cultivate a friendship out of just being family. Because if you know, you know. That's not always something that happens, but I am blessed to be in a space where that has come to fruition. And like I said, to be a part of that and to be around friends and family that are just celebrating this next chapter in her life was just such a great space to be in. And I'm just so happy for her. So if you're listening, boo, congratulations. Again, she's a wife. I'm so happy for you, honey. But in the midst of all of that, I was kind of able to see or spend some time and celebrate my 33rd birthday. I'm getting old, y'all. I'm getting so old. And it's so weird and like reality setting for me that like I don't feel it. I really don't feel it. And I don't even necessarily know what like 33 is supposed to feel like, honestly. It could definitely feel like 100 million different things, but I think for me, 33 just feels like another year of like wisdom and growing. And especially because my last birthday, I was like deep in the trenches of postpartum. So I feel like it kind of came and went. Like my 32nd birthday was like, all right, we're here. Everything's great. And then, oh, was that my 30? Oh, Jesus, that might have been my 31st birthday. Same, no, 30, 31 and 32. So 31 was, yeah, I was fresh postpartum, like 2 months after I had the babies. And then 32 was like a year in. And I was still deep in the trenches of postpartum. So it was a different kind of space to be in and a different vibe to be in. So this year, I my one wish was that I was able to take some time, to spend 33, like ushering in that year by myself. I, yeah, and I'll get into why, I felt that way, which I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I'll expand upon that a little bit later on in the episode. Um, but I knew I had to take some time for myself. And so I told my husband, hey, babe, I know we normally celebrate, but I really, really, really want to take some time for me. And he was kind of like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, no, don't worry. Like, it's just, I need a little moment to kind of get my mind together. And he was like, okay. So I was able to do that in the midst of like preparing for the wedding and everything. And it really brought me to what today's topic is really going to be all about. And that is focusing on thriving and not just surviving in this season. And how I'm going to use that concept to really slay my self-care moving forward. So, that's the topic. That's what we're going to talk about today. And so just, take a quick break, go get you some water or whatever, come back and, you know, we'll get it started. All right, y'all. So, starting 33 off with deciding to take some time for myself really kind of cemented for me that 33, even though I don't feel, like I said, older, it definitely feels like a shifting year for me. And the only other year that ever really felt like that for me was year 25. Um, a lot of stuff clicked into place for me in terms of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do in year 25. And that was also a pivotal year for me too, because the next year I met my now husband. And I'll talk more about that particular transformation journey and everything. I feel like I've touched upon it in like previous episodes too, but I I might want to do like a recap slash deep dive of that. But that was the year that everything kind of shifted for me, year 25. So this year specifically feels like that, but in a different intensity and gravity to a certain degree. And I really wanted, because I felt like this, because I felt like this was a pivotal shifting year for me, I wanted to take some time to really breathe into that and like get my mind together. You know, I had spent the last, 2 years of life kind of shifting into a new mode, which was motherhood. Um, and I've been a wife for about almost 5 years now. And people think, oh, okay, like wife, mom. But honestly, when you've spent your entire life being a very self-focused individual, which we all kind of are, um, outside of just our relationships with our parents and our friends and things like that, everything is still very like self involved, until you become responsible for another human being outside of yourself. And transitioning into motherhood for me was very like, it was very beautiful, but very jarring. Because now and for me specifically, I think because not only was I blessed with becoming pregnant, I became pregnant with twins. So not just being responsible for one human, but two at the same time. It's a lot. Okay, it's a lot. And, these two fireballs of mine definitely teach me new things every single day. But these last 2 years have really been focused on transitioning into that. And then also the fact that like I've never spent a birthday by myself. I've never gone anywhere honestly by myself. I've never taken a trip by myself. And that's something that I do want to change in the future because I've never done that. And I think that that's definitely something on my bucket list at this point. Um, but I was like, I've never spent a birthday solo. I've never, done any of that. And I think this is the year. I think this is the year where I'm comfortable enough with my own company where I'm like, I need to do and see and talk to possibly nobody. And so I was like, all right, this is the vibe. And so I am so, I decided to like go away, and instead of, going to a hotel, I just decided to like go and spend some time at one of my cousin's homes out in the suburbs. So it was away from the city, just far enough away where, I still was around someone that I knew, but I was kind of allowed space to just be in the midst of getting some last minute wedding errands done. So it was a really nice opportunity, and I'm glad that I took it. And it really did allow me to just kind of sit through going over the last couple of years and the last 4 or 5 years, the last 33 years. um, and, I'm glad that I got a chance to do that. And what I really took from it was I decided to like meditate and pray and rest. Whew, resting, even with having other things to do, was so pivotal for me. Like being able to rest and not even necessarily get like sleep, but just like sit and not be responsible for making decisions or choices for anybody else in that moment was so just mentally offloading. And I'm so glad that I was, again, just able to do that and given space to do that. And, you know, I did, like I said, I prayed, I meditated, I rested, all that good stuff. And um, talked through some things with someone really close to me. Honestly, got a free therapy session and wasn't even looking for it because I was going to do everything. I was just going to sit with my own thoughts and kind of process myself. But talking through that with her really brought me to like 3 points um, about how I'm going to be very like focused and what my self-care is going to represent moving forward. And point number one is a really good one for me because I realized that my healing deserves intentionality. And what I mean by that is that I haven't really felt safe in a really long time. When I say I haven't felt safe, like, of course, I feel safe. I can express myself and talk to everyone else about what I'm going through, things of that nature. But I think that I've spent a lot of time holding space for everyone else, for their emotions, for their situations, for their feelings, that I feel guilty when I have to deal with my own. So I push down what I'm feeling. And I kind of came to that realization because I was thinking about, you know, the last 5 years in particular, how I have kind of had to focus on everything else outside of me. Um, and by that, I mean like my husband's health issues and what that kind of led to and how our marriage even started, with him coming out of the hospital, in a moment where I literally thought I was going to lose him. And before we even got started. And it was a very scary time. And that's how we entered into our marriage. Me legitimately realizing that my husband was a human being. I mean, and not that I didn't think he was, but like really understanding the fragility of this man that I'm getting ready to marry. And understanding that I had to really kind of focus on making sure that like he was healthy. And I mean, yes, he's a man, a grown man, he takes care of himself, but I had to kind of spend a lot of time and hold space for that, more so than take time and really think about my own dreams and goals. And then on top of that, I'm like, oh well, I mean, we're married now, like let's start trying to have a baby. Because I was like, I'm ready to be a mom. I want to do both, like a crazy person. And so we were dealing with the ups and downs of like trying to have a baby and then like making sure that his health was good and like making sure that my health was good so that we could have the baby and just, all the things. And I didn't really fully come to grips with what that would mean. And then switching over to like embracing motherhood and being a twin parent at that. Now I am holding space for my children's emotions and I am having to regulate myself even harder to make sure that I can do what I need to do, or so that I can show them what they need to do so I can model it for them, and not giving myself the space to be like, are you okay? Do you need a minute? Do you need to go get some time? And that to me means that I need to be more intentional with my self-care at this point, my healing. And I need to acknowledge when I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I need to step back, take a breath, sit with it, and then allow myself the time to process and heal. And this year has really kind of cemented that for me. And I'm glad that it did. And then that kind of brought me, it circled me back to like point number 2, which is I may crack, but I won't shatter. And that whole thought came about from a conversation that I was having with the person that I was talking all this through. And she was, in a way that I was a very much a tough love type of way, was like battering it into me almost that like, you're doing great, hun. You're doing great. You're doing great. For what you have going on in your life right now, you are doing amazing and you can do so much more than you give yourself credit for. And when she said that to me, it also brought me back to the fact that my husband says the exact same thing to me. He's like, you can do, like, you are doing great and you do so much better than you give yourself credit for. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if that's like a humility thing or like I'm so overwhelmed because I'm a slight perfectionist thing or what, but I know in this season that resilience is in my blood. Like it is it is deep ingrained in me, not just because of my family line, like my actual bloodline, because, my grandmother raised 6 boys and 1 girl by herself as a single parent. She dealt with a lot of, discrimination, hurt, harm, all the things while raising these 6 boys and 1 girl, these 7 kids. And then, my mom went through what she went through with my dad, and the fact that she pretty much had to be a single parent as well, raising me, and just being the best mom in the world. Like, the fact that she is still here is something that I'm completely grateful for. And she is amazing. And she honestly did the best job she could, which was a great job, you know? And she's one of the strongest people I know. So it's like understanding that, like, that type of resilience is in my bloodline. And on top of that, I'm covered with the blood of Christ. Like, literally, resilience is in my blood because of Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So, like, really understanding and connecting to that is just like, if I trust that I can do all these things because Christ is within me, then I don't have to worry about when it gets hard or when I feel like I'm about to explode or crack open. I don't have to worry about that because I know I'm not going to break. And that was so empowering for me in a season where I have really felt so out of control. I needed to hear that, to be like, you are good. You are good. You are held together. You've got this because he's got this. Like, you don't have to worry about anything falling apart because he's always going to be there to help you put it back together. And it may not even look like how you thought it was going to look. It may look like something completely new, but that's okay. I have to trust that all things will work together for my good. And because I have to trust that those things will work together for my good, I also have to trust that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Like, all of these things are affirmed within me through him. So it's just understanding that aspect of that really shifted something in me for how I'm going to care for myself moving forward. And then it shifted into point number 3, which is that I need to pour from my overflow, not from my inner cup. And what I mean from that is, we always hear that saying, like, oh, don't pour from an empty cup. Don't pour from an empty cup, blah, blah, blah. Like, of course, we know that we have to fill ourselves back up in order to be able to give and be here for other people. But the focus shouldn't necessarily be just on filling the cup. It should be making sure that it's running over. And honestly, so I got this from a reel that somebody sent me on Instagram. And it was talking about how we should be pouring from our overflow. And it just threw me for a loop because I was like, what? I didn't even think about it on those terms. And it's because, like, we don't think about it like that. We're so focused on making sure that this cup is full, this cup is full, this cup is full. But, like, is it full to the point of running over? Not just at the brim. Like, I want to be flooding. That's how much I want to be overflowing. Like, I want to literally flood everywhere that I'm going. Because I know that if that's happening, then that means that there's a consistent stream coming. That I don't have to worry about getting to a low point. And that comes from understanding where the source is coming from. I have been so, especially in these last couple years, focused on taping up the cracks myself with like a little bit here, a little bit there, just like kind of putting it together and like being like, oh, okay, I got it. It's fine. It's fine. We can do it. We can do it. And then turning around and being like, God, I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. I'm so stressed. Like just feeling so completely overwhelmed because I'm trying to do it and tape it together myself when I should have been looking for glue. Not just like regular glue, like super glue. The strongest glue known to man. And that's him. Especially in these last couple of days with becoming an entrepreneur, these last couple of months, honestly. Like the urge to try to do it all myself is so present because I'm like, I don't have anybody to answer to. I don't have anybody to report to. It's just me. I have to get it done. I have to do it. I have to be consistent. I have to do this. I have to make the content. I have to edit it. I have to do all the things. And it's so easy in that to get to get overwhelmed, right? To get frustrated, get upset, especially when you are also putting in the work and then you don't feel like you're getting any immediate results. And again, that just boils down to patience for me too, because patience is something that I'm still working on. Something that God is still growing in me. But I get so caught up in all of that sometimes that I forget to pull from Him. And I don't want to do that anymore moving forward. I don't want to forget who my glue is. And that is so pivotal for me in this next year because I have a vision of what's to come and where this is going. And I want to see that vision through because I know it's been given to me. So the responsibility is there. But also, I realize that I'm not doing it by myself. I can't do it by myself. It's too big. It's too much for me to shoulder by myself. And honestly, even for me to control it, it's got to be Him. So I'm literally giving it to Him this season. It's not even a game. It's not a thought. I have to relinquish. I have to release so that I can get that continuous stream from Him. And that means that I'm going to have to use different tools for more intentional outcomes. Like life changes, we change, we go through different seasons, and our self-care has to change and transform with that. Like it can't always look the same. So I have to really pull on whatever different tools that means. Like I have to, if I can't meditate in the morning like I used to, because honestly, I used to have that's another thing. I used to have such a great like system and flow in the mornings. And honestly, like I'm literally filming this at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I know for a fact that when my alarm goes off at 8, there's a big possibility that I'm not getting out of bed at 8 o'clock. And that is the beauty of being an entrepreneur. I can make my own schedule. And um, I'm blessed to be in that position. But even because I want to be more intentional with my morning time, I realize that I can mix it up. I'm going to have to do something different. The way that I used to be able to wake up and like spend alone time and really just sit and be in the midst of the Lord, I can't necessarily do that because my kids wake up when I wake up and then the day is just kind of going and passing by. So I have to start to be okay with like, maybe this is going to be a nap time devotional. So what I was realizing is that I have to just switch it up a little bit and maybe, you know, the early morning devotionals, the time when I used to kind of sit and be in his really up, like soak in his presence, I won't necessarily be able to do that. So it might turn into a 20-minute afternoon devotional. It might turn into a 10-minute journal session. It might turn into just, you know, 10 minutes of prayer while I'm doing the dishes or just other things. It's not going to look like what it used to look like, which is the point that I'm trying to make. And I have to be okay with that. And, that also means that, like, taking care of all of me has to be kind of the purpose, right? Like, I have to make sure that my outside care either mirrors or matches my inside care. So I'm taking care of my body, getting the right nutrients, taking the vitamins, trying to get as much sleep as I possibly can, all those things. But while focusing on that, I have to understand that the inside care is also super, super important. And that is what helps sustain me, heal me, and pour into me on a continuous stream, like I was talking about. And that's where, like I said, I'm going to switch up my journaling and my meditation practices, realizing that that's not always going to look like what it used to look like, and being consistent with that with the aid of different apps and things. Like, I just found the Dwell app. It's in the app store. It's called Dwell, Dwell, and it's literally a way for me to play the word through devotionals and through just actual reading of the text in my ear 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. And I can do it while I'm doing the dishes. I can do it while I'm sitting in the room with the girls, just playing with them. I can literally do it anywhere. And I love that so much. That convenience of just being able to pull God whenever I need to just sit with Him is going to be such a game changer for me, because it allows me to realize that He's everywhere. He's in the mix everywhere. And that's for somebody out there, right there. You keep thinking that you have to sit and soak. You don't. Soaking is great, and there's a time for soaking. But realize that He's in every moment of your day with you. So stop thinking that because you don't have time to sit and soak, that you don't have time to sit with Him. That's not true. He can give you more in 10 minutes than He might be able to give you in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, because to Him, that time is nothing. It's like a speck, it's dust. So that's for me and for you, for me and for you. Make sure that you realize that you can do this anytime, anywhere, any place. Okay? So that then leads to me really understanding that while I'm taking care of my outer and inner, I also need to pour into my relationship. That was a hard one for me to even admit, because in my brain, I'm thinking we're doing fine. We don't, like, me and him are fine. We don't need to, like, we're connecting when we connect, right? But I also had to get real with myself and realize that I missed my friend. I missed my friend. I missed the man that I cultivated a relationship with before we had children, before we became parents. And yes, I've been a bonus parent, so I do have stepchildren, but it's different. Having two children in the house with you full time, especially two young children. Um, the the time that we have for each other is kind of non-existent. And especially because he's working in his work schedule, like, we were two ships passing in the night. And I was like, I want to be more intentional with connecting with him. And then also realizing that that's going to look different because we have small children right now. So an hour a week, where we just sit in each other's presence. Maybe we scroll on the phone a little bit, just touching each other, connecting through cuddling, whatever. Like, that's a moment for us. That's time for us to kind of get back to us, right? Without two small children crawling all over us. That's important, and then that'll lead to date nights outside of the house and, you know, actual long weekend getaways. And I'm really praying, Lord, hear this, that we get a trip in 2025 or beginning of 2026, Lord, because we have not had a honeymoon and we deserve it. We deserve it, Lord. So, but just planting those seeds of our connection is going to make the time when we actually get to like go on a vacation or a trip really, really, really impactful, and just even more of a blessing to our relationship. And I want to continue to do that because I want my babies to see two parents that really love each other. I want my kids to know that mom and dad aren't just mom and dad, they're Gregory and Jessica. They are two people who were here and loved each other before y'all got here. And you being here has added to that love, but it also means that we have to take time to spend together so that we can be better people for ourselves, each other, and you all. So I am going to do better at that. And so is he. So that is one of the, that's a whole, we're going to do a whole topic and show on that and what that's going to look like in the future. But yeah, that is pretty much what my 33rd birthday took, like what it created. Like the time that I took away for my birthday was so impactful for me. And I'm so glad that I was able to like take that weekend, do what I needed to do, and then I got a chance to go to church without the babies and just worship. And it was such a great way to kind of like seal that weekend with some praise and worship and getting the word and just sitting in the presence of God. Again, soaking. Again, told you soaking, there's a time for it. And this was a soaking time because I needed to cement that. I needed to seal it and be like, all right, God, this is your will. This is what I want you to be in the mix of. I want you to be the captain of the ship. And I don't want to do it without you. And I think that everybody should take a birthday to go away by yourself and really, even if it's not a birthday, maybe it's an end of the year little mini overnight stay somewhere or something like that, or like you do it once a month, whatever that is, whatever that looks like, do it because it will change your life. It will. And the more we get comfortable with being by ourselves, just I think the better off we'll be with being in our own company. Like we got to get comfortable with that because at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And everybody should get a chance to do it. Whew. All right, y'all. So I really pray that this blessed you in some way, that you gained a little bit more insight into what your own self-care will look like moving forward and how, you can take the intentional steps to kind of build that out for yourself. Because I needed that. I needed it. And I think that there are a lot of people out here that really need that as well. So I want you to reflect on this question. How am I committed to thriving in this next season? How am I committed to thriving in this next season? Take a minute, write it in the comments, share your reflections Not just on that question, but also on this episode. 'Cause trust me, I love to hear from you guys. You're my community. So, there's a comment section on Spotify, and just a quick update. This episode will be up and available on Mondays on our brand new YouTube channel. Yes, y'all will be able to watch these podcast episodes on YouTube. I heard y'all loud and clear. We did a little trial and error with, Spotify and the video podcast, but I realized that, again, we're trying to grow. So, and just reach more. I want to reach more people with this podcast. So a YouTube channel was kind of gonna be the next step. And, I really want to take some time to try some stuff out with this YouTube channel. And then eventually that'll lead into my own personal YouTube channel. So, yes, y'all will be able to watch these episodes every Monday on our YouTube channel. I'm going to link it below. I'm just excited because, again, we're doing something new and fresh. It's going to be amazing. So don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening. Please, y'all. I want this podcast to reach more people, and the algorithm on Apple Podcasts is definitely still a thing. So the more you rate, the more you review, the more people get to see the podcast. And definitely follow us on Spotify. Click that notification button so you can get notified every time we have a new episode. We're going to keep these vibes vibing over here. So I love you guys. I cannot wait to see you again in the next episode. And until next time, this is the Slay Vibe babe herself, Jess, signing out. I want y'all to keep slaying.